It's 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and where else would I be but here with you? So, DJ Stutz here with Little Hearts Academy USA, and this is our first Tuesday night episode. We've been doing Fridays for the last year, and that was mostly because people were inside with COVID and stuff, and now that things are lightening up, and hey, Carolyn, and people are getting out more, then I thought it's going to be better for us to do a Tuesday night. So we'll see how it goes. So thanks for everyone who's joining me live, and thanks for everyone who'll be catching me on the replay. I really appreciate it. So I want to get started though with my viewer of the week. So this week I want to highlight someone who's been with me from the very beginning. Everyone so far has been with me from the very beginning. And this is Raylene Lovato. So Raylene is actually a grandmother, and she follows us. And I have a few grandmothers that are following us, so that makes me happy as well. But she is really good at just taking care of these grandkids. So even when I've seen her at school picking up not just her grandkids, but children of nieces and nephews, and she goes to 2 different schools she would to pick up kids. This last year, I know that she has been working hard to support her daughter and her grandkids in academics and trying to keep them online as best she can, and just doing what she can to help out with the family. So kudos to you, Raylene, and we can always use more grandmas like you. So I'm very glad that you're one of the amazing people that get to follow me and are a part of our little family here. So if you're like me, you want your kids to be very strong and independent. And so I wanted my kids to be able to come into a situation, size up what's going on, and determine what is the most appropriate, hi Jonathan, what is the most appropriate action to take at that point. And so, I wanted them to be strong enough to stand up for the truth and be able, and also able to recover from, difficult things, difficult situations, bad things happen. How quickly do they recover from that? As they get older, those situations don't go away. You and I know as adults that there are tough situations that they are going to have to manage all throughout their lives. And so we see adults sometimes who are not able to recover quickly, or they're just emotionally traumatized by what I would consider minor things, small things as adults. You should be able to handle that. And so that's what I want my kids to be able to do as they're adults now, and be able to handle situations that come along. So you always ask, will they be able to persevere and bounce back? Do they give up when something goes wrong, or do they keep trying and overcome whatever obstacles that are in the way of their dream and of the things that they want to accomplish with themselves and with their family? So we want them to be able to do that instead of falling apart when things get rough. Oh, it got hard. I'm just going to back off. I actually had a friend when I lived in Las Vegas, and her husband left her. She had 4 sons, has 4 sons. But his excuse was, it's too hard. It's too hard raising these boys. And he left. And so I just felt like this whole family, fell apart because somebody wasn't able to persevere, to manage through hard times. And you certainly don't want that for your kids. So, I have kids that I want my kids to understand, and I think they mostly do, that they have the brains, they have the ability to see things through. They're strong, And when I was teaching kindergarten the last time, which was a couple years ago, I've been in preschool now for 2 years. So I had a saying on my wall, and it went the whole length of the wall. And we said it every day. We said, we are smart, we are kind, and we do hard things. And we said that every day. And I really believe that that's a mantra for our kids, to believe in their own ability to be intelligent, to look things through, to learn new things, to be kind in how they react to situations, and to not be afraid because something might be hard, and not back off from it. It's like, oh yay, it's hard. That means I'll achieve even more, right? I'll feel better about what I'm doing. So, and I think we all have seen kids who act tough, but they're not really. So it's that kid that when he or she gets mad will launch into hitting, kicking, throwing things, clearing off shelves and things. I've had those kids in my classroom through the years. We see them at home. And I know that people, they'll just go up and get in someone's face and like start a fight. And I've heard people say, man, that kid's tough. I'm like, no, he's not. He's a mess, but he's not tough. Or she's a mess, but she's not tough. She is completely incapable of handling things that didn't go their way. That is the antithesis of being truly, truly tough. Being independent, being strong, means strong mentally, strong emotionally, strong socially. And so we really want to help our kids to be truly what we might say tough or independent, strong, all those things. That is not it. So the question is, how do you help your child? And when do you start with this independent, strong thing, right? About 1 year of age. That first year is spent in nurturing, meeting their needs, being there when they cry. I would not let them just cry it out very often. Only if I was like totally at my wit's end and, but really that first year is just for you and your partner, your spouse, developing that relationship, that baby learns that the world is a safe place. I am loved. There are people who will care for me, who will meet my needs. And that first year is really foundational in helping you build the other things that must come along. But once they're about a year old, you are able to start letting them explore. And so I would make sure that I had things down low that they could get into. And if there were things that, glasses or plates, whatever, that would be hurtful for them to get into, or things that I want them, hey, Raylene, we were just talking about you. But all those things that were hurtful or whatever, I would put them up high. And then down low, I would make sure I had like plastic cups, measuring cups, pans, pots and pans, things that they could play with and bang on and stuff. But we want them to start investigating things. You're going to watch from a distance. Keep an eye on them from a distance, but you don't want to be right there on top of them. And a lot of people are like, oh, they'll make a mess. Yeah, they will. That's part of the game. And so, and as that goes, they're going to learn to start cleaning up their own messes. But for right now, we want them to be able to really investigate and challenge themselves. And that's the very beginning of it. That is the very beginning of it. And so at 1, we're going to do it. So there was a study done in Israel among the Israeli army. And what they found was that these adults, because military service is required of everyone, male and female, in Israel. I think it's 2 years. I'm not sure. Might be just 2 years. But it's required. And they have found that the people who came from nurturing homes actually did better in the army than those who came from very strict, authoritative homes, we're going to toughen him up, oh, we got to make sure he's tough or she's tough. And those people actually did worse than the ones who came from those nurturing, safe homes. So that's something to think about. I want you to think about an Olympic swimmer, right? There's several that could come to mind. But, we didn't just throw them in the deep end and expect them to break a world record. They started very young, and it started with just being comfortable with putting your face in the water, blowing bubbles, right? And you slowly work your way up, and then they start learning different strokes. They start competing with other people their age, and going on from there. Being or teaching our children to be independent and strong. I like that word better than tough, but independent and strong is really much the same. We're going to start small. So we've got a 1-year-old that, hey Kayla, so we've got a 1-year-old that wants to investigate their environment. They want to look and get into things. We're going to create an environment that is as accessible to that as we can. And that's the first place we start, with that independence. And then we're going to move and grow from there. And it's interesting that as the Olympic swimmer gains physical strength, they also have to gain mental and emotional strength with the stress that comes from competitions, from being able to read who they're racing against, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. They have to work themselves mentally to get over, hard times and injury. All of that is more mental, actually, than physical. It's the same thing with independence, right? If they have a strong mental security, they believe in themselves, they are not afraid to try new things, they are able to size up the competition, so to speak, then they're going to do better than someone who has always had everything, figured out for them. Someone jumps in and solves all their problems all the time. And so you really want to not do that for your kids. You want to be there and support them. And if they fail, well, what did we learn from that, right? And sometimes they're really down, and it's okay to be really down. Yeah, I know it's sad when you lose a race, or when you don't get the grade that you were expecting, or when a friend walks away, right? And so you can let them experience those things. That's part of being strong, is being able to identify what you are feeling, and know what to do. And sometimes just having a good cry is exactly what is needed. And so just because a child may cry for a little bit over a big disappointment, it doesn't mean that they're not strong. It means that they're just feeling their feelings. And we need to support them with that as well. So there's 2 types, and I've kind of alluded to this already, that there are 2 types of being independent and strong, or 2 areas that I'm going to be talking about today. So the first one is physical, and the other one is mental, social, emotional, that kind of stuff. So let's look at physical first. And so my big thing is let them try, right? If they think they can climb up this ladder or climb this tree, yeah, you think you can do that? Yeah, let's see how you do. And maybe they need some help. You might need to give them a little instruction on how to move their hands and their feet. I had a little guy this year that he was actually not in my class, but he was in another class that had the same recess time as we did. And he had some disabilities going on, and he was afraid of a lot of things. And he was afraid of this one ladder going up to a slide. And you could see he wanted to so badly, right? And so what I did during recess is I I took him and said, "You want to go up?" And he wanted it so badly. He would stand at the bottom of the ladder and just look up. And he's not a very verbal kid. And I'd say, "Okay." So he'd watch the other kids go up, and I'd say, "I'm right behind you." And I was right behind him. And I showed him, put this hand here, and then you put your foot up. First you move your hand, and then you move your foot. And I would go up with him right behind him. He could see my arms were right there if he fell or needed help. And slowly I started backing away, and it was, "I'm going to wait till you get to the top, and then you can help me." And he liked that. And, in 3 days, this kid was going from being absolutely afraid of even trying to up and down, up and down, up and down, like 500 times. He was so excited, and he wanted me to watch him every time, And it was so much fun watching that growth and that expansion of ability and of confidence. He became he was so proud of himself. It was really, really fun. So let them try and realize it's not going to be perfect. It's going to take a few days, maybe a few months, maybe even a few years for them to be able to fully be independent on whatever it is. But, it's great to give it a start. Let's give it a start. So there's something that we use in teaching, and it's called the I do, we do, you do method. And so it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. So let's take something real easy like making a bed. And you may not care if they make their bed. I did. I came from that generation. But that's okay. But it's an easy thing to use as a example. So first off, it's I do. So I'm going to be making the bed, and they're in the room, and they might even not be fully engaged, but you're in the room and they're in the room, and they see you making the bed. And the whole time you're using self-talk language like, "Oh, okay, what a mess here. First, I'm going to take the sheet and I'm going to pull it all the way up. Make sure there, aren't too many wrinkles. We're good. Next, the blanket." And you're talking yourself through the whole thing as you're making the bed. And you'll see eventually they might come around and watch you or whatever. But make sure that they are hearing you say it. The next step is the we do. So you might say, "Susie, come on over. We're going to make it together." And when it's together, especially when they're young, they're going to be more excited about it than if you try to do this as they get older. The best time to do this is when they're younger. And so you might say, "You grab that side and I'll grab this side, and we'll pull the sheet up together." That's the first thing we do. And then the second thing, and sometimes you can act like, "Oh, what is the next thing to do?" And let them kind of say, "Oh, the blanket." And yeah, you're right. You got it. Let's do that together. And then you're going to have that. And then whatever else that you have on the bed, pillows, stuffies, maybe a special blanket, whatever it is that works for you. But you started with, "I'm doing it." Then you went to, "We are doing it." And then you might say, "Susie, I want to try an experiment. We've been doing this together for a couple of weeks now. I'm wondering, can you do it by yourself?" And if you can do it by yourself, we'll go out and play on the swings for whatever. Have a reward that you're going to, dangle in front of them. But really, the most significant rewards oftentimes is time with you. And so realize it's not going to be perfect. It's okay. They'll learn. And when they're done, woo, big celebration. You did it. You're so independent. You're going to start using that word. You can do hard things. You are wonderful. Look at the way that you smoothed everything out. I don't know, whatever you want to notice. But notice things that they did that were exactly right. So that's kind of that I do, we do, you do thing. And you may realize that a week down the road, you can say, "Oh, Susie, can you go make the bed? I am busy with X, Y, or Z." And they may go up and not do a great job, right? Do you get mad at them? Nope. Say, oh, wow. Okay, I can see you gave it a good try. Let's do it together again. And you go back to we do. And do that for a few more days, and then see if they can do it by themselves again. And this is with anything. It could be something like getting dressed. You know, when they're one, I do it, right? And they get upset and they want to do things by themselves. So maybe you are thinking about what are some clothing that they can put on by themselves. Or maybe it's shoes. Are you looking at shoes that tie? Now, you want to give them shoes that tie, I'm telling you, at about 4. And then you're going to start talking about, hey, Nephi, you're going to start talking about how you tie and all of that. But you are going to be helping them and thinking when you buy clothes, when you buy shoes, is this something that they can put on fairly easily? I've had kids come to my kindergarten class that couldn't even put their coat on. I mean, I'm not talking about zip it or button. I mean, just putting it on. They can't do it. And they're 5. That's not appropriate. They need to be able to do it by 5. And so when I was in kindergarten, we called it the kindergarten flip. In preschool, we call it the preschool flip. But basically, you put the coat on the floor and kind of spread it out so that it's open. Make sure that the arms are right side out. They're not, all crumpled up. And then they're going to stand at the top of the coat, which is like by the neck. So they're standing there facing the coat at the top of the coat. They can slip their hands in those arms very easily, and they just kind of wrap it around and the coat goes right on. And it's really fun watching kids when they get it. It's like, oh, I did it. They're so excited. So that's something that, they can learn to do. And I've seen 2-year-olds do this. 2-year-olds are perfectly capable of being able to do that. So it could be setting the table or clearing the table or just, putting the plates on. I know that when my kids were little, I don't know if they call it Melmac anymore, but, they weren't like Corel or plates that would break, basically plastic plates. And that's all we used for years because those kids, you want them to be successful, and I don't want to be buying all new plates all the time. So we bought those, and they were down low. I didn't have them in cupboards up high. I had them actually in my pantry down low so that my younger kids could get them. We had plastic cups that were down there that they could get, and then they could start helping with, okay, put the plates on. So you don't want to just say, set the table at the beginning. No. Remember, we're going to do I do, we do, and you do. And then you're going to follow that pattern, and they will be able to do it and very proud of themselves. When they're young, they're very proud of themselves for doing those things. Capitalize on that, right? Maybe clearing the table, taking their plate at least and putting it in the sink is fine. They can help you. A 2-year-old can help you load the dishwasher. You're going to have to go back and redo it later, but that's okay because they feel like they have been helping. I'm a big person. I'm grown up. I can do this, and so you can hand them the plates and they can put them in. And you can tell them, okay, cups go up here. Again, I do, we do, you do. And there you go. I've had my 2-year-old grandson help me with loading the washing machine with clothes. And so I would just hand him the clothes and he'd throw it in, and he thought that was such great fun. Did it take me longer? Yeah, it did. But did he feel accomplished and like he could help? Yeah, he did. He was very proud of himself, big smile, thinking, I'm grown up. I'm helping Nana. My grandkids call me Nana. So anyway, there's things like that. Picking up their toys. Now realize, if they have so many toys out, it's just too daunting. What I would do is say, we are only picking up the cars. And you have a place for the cars to go. No, no, that's not a car. Don't pick that up. Just the cars. And then it becomes a game. And they're having fun with that. If they have really a lot of cars, you might say we're picking up the police cars or the yellow cars or the trucks or whatever it is, but you divide it up into something that they can do. Also realize that kids have different attention spans. Of course, the younger they are, the smaller it is. But so you might want to set the timer and say, we're going to clean the room for 5 minutes. Doesn't matter if you're done at 5 or not. But if we're going to clean the room for 5 minutes, when the timer goes off, we're going to go, I don't know, ride our bikes or go in the sandbox or something that they like to do. And then after that's done, you can go back for another 5 minutes, depending on how long your child can work on something. If you're there with them, they will work longer than, of course, if you leave them to their own devices. They probably will make the problem worse, especially if you're at the early stages and what mood they are in. So they're able to pick up clothes and put them in the hamper. A 1-year-old can help you with that. And then maybe climbing up a slide. So at school, I hate to say it because it just breaks my heart, but they are not allowed to go up a slide, which is a great gross motor skill. It helps their core strength, but you know, because everyone's so litigious and so happy, so we have to say ladders are for up, slides are for down. But if you're with a kid, you've got maybe a slide in your backyard, or you're at a park, and there's not a bunch of kids trying to come down, of course. But, you know, if it's open and letting them try, they want to try and go up, yeah, try and go up. And kind of you're there to help them. They'll probably slide back down, sometimes not on their own. Sometimes they do it as a game. I go up part and then I slide down and you want to try again? Yeah, and they'll go up again. And it's just a lot of fun. And that's great. Do that with them. They all want to jump off things. So like planters, retaining walls. And so let them try. And if it's a little high, just say, I'll catch you. and so they're jumping and you're catching them and you're building that bond that's there. If they want to climb a tree, okay, you think you can do that? I'm going to be here. I want to watch you do that. And let them try. Yeah, they're going to get scratches and this, you know, in the worst case, I mean, my mom always said, if you haven't broken a bone in your childhood, you didn't have a good childhood. Well, I didn't break a bone in my childhood. I waited until I was an adult to do that. But, you know, I still had a lot of fun growing up. So just let them try things, keep them safe, and but don't hover, and let them just, if they want to try it, go ahead and see what you can do to make it. Now, if something is truly too high, find a happy medium. Ugh, you know, I'm worried about that. Let's not do that one. But I see one over here, and that's something that maybe you know you can catch them at, or maybe they just like climbing up, climbing down, climbing up, climbing down. That's fine. That is fine. Give them a chance to ride a trike and then a bike, and you know they have those new what are they called? They don't have pedals. I can't remember the name of it, but they're these little 2-wheel bikes and they don't have pedals. Striders, that's it. And so they're learning to balance themselves and they feel like they're on a, you know, I'm a big kid. I don't have any training wheels. I'm great. And off they go. And so my grandkids have all had those, and it's made the transition from that and to a regular bike much easier. In fact, they didn't even have training wheels. They just went straight from that because they had the balance ability. And so you're giving them a chance to build those gross motor skills and their confidence. There's pogo sticks and scooters and hoverboards, you know, and you know, you can always get the elbow pads, make sure they have a helmet. You know, you don't want to be crazy, you know, irresponsible with it, but you do want to give them a chance to try. And when we keep them, oh no, you'll get hurt. Oh no, you'll get hurt. We wind up raising kids that are afraid to try new things. And they're, oh, I might, you know, and their friends are leaving them in the dust because they haven't been able to really give that a chance and challenge themselves and build that self-esteem. And that self-esteem goes such a far way in academics and in social situations and their own outlook on not only themselves but on the world in general, and their ability to, oh, I can help. I know what to do. Kids love to be able to help a friend. Most kids do. And so that's something that's kind of exciting. So on the mental side of it, our swimmer analogy still holds, right? You start with something small, a small problem maybe that the kids have, and then over time allow for bigger and more difficult emotional challenges. So I'm going to go back outside for one of these things. I love kids being outside. I love that. It's so important for them. So, but it's also important for kids to be able to go outside and play by themselves. So if you're in an apartment and you don't have a backyard that you can just let them loose on, you can take them to a park or a play area. And yeah, you do want to be involved and play with them at some point, but I mean, for some of it, but some of it, you also want to go and sit on the bench and let them figure out what they want to do by themselves. Maybe there are some other kids there and they can learn to go up and introduce themselves and say, hey, would you like to go up the slide with me? And so, but they're not going to learn that if you're hovering over them all the time and, not letting them take those opportunities on their own. And it's very scary, even for adults sometimes, it's very scary to go to, let's say, a party or starting a new job and you don't know anybody. And, are they going to like me? Am I going to fit in? And all of those thoughts come to us as adults still. And so it's very normal for a child to have those kinds of worries and concerns. The more practice they get at, say, going up and introducing themselves, do you want to play? Can I play with you? And but what if a child tells them no? Okay, kid said no, right? And so that means you just go somewhere else and find something else to do. And that's okay too. And so I would practice with them often and say, oh, what if, you went and saw this kid and you said, could you want to play with me? And they said no. What would you do? What do we do? And then you practice it and you're the kid that says no. And what is your child going to do? And you give them a chance to work on it. That's what we do in school. We give them a chance to practice and we'll have teacher support right there helping them. And so if someone says no, it's like, oh, that's okay. Or can I play with that toy? No. Okay. Well, can I have it when you're done? Yeah. Okay. And it's funny how more often than not, that child in the next 30 seconds is going to say, okay, you can have it. It's just, they just want to have the control to say, I'm giving it up when I want to give it up, not because you made me give it up. There's a big psychology that goes with that. So how are we going to accomplish getting them, psychologically where we want them to be independent and strong? First thing is we're going to let our kids struggle. Hardest thing, I know, but we're going to let them try to manage a situation themselves instead of swooping down and trying to resolve it for them. Because the reality is they're not going to learn. And we've all seen adults who act very childishly when they don't get their way, right? And how does that work for work relationships, for friendships, for marriages, family situations? And they just aren't good at things not going their way because they never had the chance to practice it. And so we want to give them that chance to practice it while they're young. So another thing, I've got 5 things here for you. is that overtly teaching children how to handle more and more difficult challenges. So it might be that maybe someone is bullying them. How are they going to handle it? If they have a problem at school with someone being a bully, and very often it's hard, if they're out on the playground, their teacher isn't there with them. Very often it's usually, a yard assistant, someone who they don't see except when they're outside, and they have literally 40 kids to keep an eye on. And so they can't be there to intervene or to see every little thing that's going on. And so how much better is it anyway for us to send our kids off to school bully-proofed, basically, right? And they're able to shut them down and just say, oh, okay, well, you're wrong, and walk away. How can we do that? We'll do a special thing on bullying specifically down the road. Excuse me. So we want to actually practice with them on how to meet those challenges. And then we want to be supportive when they fail. And so don't just get angry with them if, they wind up punching a kid or, having their temper tantrum. It's like, well, this is what we're doing. Okay, you're still not getting it, right? And in fact, even if you were going to give it to them and they didn't realize it and they had a temper tantrum and fell down, you no longer give it to them. No. They don't get what they want with bad behavior. Ever. Ever. You're setting yourself up so badly, and your child, if you're doing that. That's that unwitting saboteur that sneaks in sometimes with us. But when they calm themselves down, and it's like, oh, good, you turned it around. But you don't make like, oh, I'm so proud of you. This is so wonderful. You don't need to do that. You're going to be like, hey, bud, you got that turned around. That shows me that you're really growing. I appreciate that. Good work, right? Big difference there. But be sure, and even when they show small steps of growth, you need to notice those and point them out. I saw you doing this, and I was really proud of you. That was great. I love it when you make those good decisions. And so help them with that. Number 4 is that we really want to validate their feelings. So don't tell them, oh, you'll get over it. How would you feel? I'm just thinking, I'll talk from a wife point of view since I happen to be a wife. If my husband and I'm upset and my husband said, get over it, it's no big deal. It would become a very big deal, right? And, women, we do that to our men sometimes. We think, oh, men are tough, they'll get over it. And they may, and I won't say all men because there's a wide variety of feelings and expectations, but I will say that my man holds everything in. And so he may be very upset and he won't say a word. And so I have to be very aware and watch very closely for the little signs. After as many decades as we have been married, I know them pretty well. And so then I can start, saying, oh, what's going on? How are you doing? But also help them put a name to their feelings. So little guys, my 1-year-old is basically going to say, happy, sad, hungry. Well, the range of emotions are way more than 3, And so there's a difference between sad and angry, right? There's a difference between angry and frustrated, right? And so you might start putting those together and saying what you're feeling frustrated because you really wanted to get that truck and we just can't get it. And I understand that it's frustrating for you when that happens, but I know that you can pull through. And you always talk with positive expectations. And this is something that I've been able to do as I teach with my kids who do have some special needs, especially some emotional special needs, is I just let them know, I know you can handle this. You're amazing. And I think you can get this done. And generally, they will live up to that. So I had a little guy this year that when he would get upset, like he didn't get to stand in his place in line that he wanted, or he didn't get picked to answer a question when he wanted to, he would just flop down on the ground. And so one time we were getting in line and he didn't get the place in line he wanted. Down he goes. And everyone was like, oh, he's down. He's laying down on the ground. I'm like, yeah, he's okay. He makes good decisions. He's just working through. He's upset. He's working through it. And I know that when we leave, this little guy is going to make the right choice and he'll just come with us. And I spoke positively in front of the class that I have faith in this little guy and I know he's going to do the right thing. And guess what happened? He got up, and when you constantly put that positive, oh, you've got this. I know you can manage this, and they feel that strength. And you've practiced with them so that you can remind them, remember how we practiced? I know you can do it. This is your chance. You can do this, and just be excited for them. Then they will very often, nothing's 100%, but 75% is good. I think, it's if it's working most of the time, it's good. But ask them questions about how are you feeling right now? Like, is your tummy hurting? Because a lot of times when kids are really upset, their tummy hurts, their head hurts. I had one kid say, my heart hurts, But then you can say, yeah, do you like that feeling? No. Well, then don't get so mad. Let's find another way to manage it, because I don't want you to feel that way either. That's an awful feeling, correct? Right. So you just help them with that. And we're going to really avoid those phrases like suck it up, no crying, you'll get over it, all of that. I never, ever tell a child to quit crying. Nope, doesn't happen. Because then they have total control. You can't force that child to stop crying. You could try to intimidate them out of it. Is that the relationship that you want with your child? It's not the one I want with my child. So I don't want to intimidate them out of it. And so then, sometimes tell me if I'm wrong. And you can put it in the comments if you want. But sometimes when you say, stop crying, they get louder, right? And more physically out of control because you told them to stop crying. And they have all the control over that. So what I always do is I will say, wow, you're really sad. I can see that. So cry as long as you need to. I'll be over here. And as soon as you're done, we can work together and try to fix the problem. But I can see you need to cry first. So do that, and then we'll work on it together. Sometimes they have a really good reason to cry. Someone's been really mean to them, or they're just really sad mommy's gone, or daddy left, or, their friend had to go home, and their heart is broken. And sometimes it's okay. It's really okay to just sit there and say, oh, bud, I know that you're sad. It's always sad when friends go, or it's always sad when mommy leaves. But you know what? She's going to be back. When it's time for pickup, she's going to be back, or he's going to be back. And you'll be there. But you can cry. You cry until you're done. And then we'll go on and start having fun in preschool or in kindergarten. I've seen kids that are losing it in first grade, especially at the beginning of the year, and they want to be with their parent or their family. And so It's okay. I never ever say no crying. I will have a crying spot. Okay. Oh, you need to cry. All right, let's go over to that crying spot, because we don't want them in the middle of our circle, right? And I'll tell you, I'll give you one example real quick. But I have a granddaughter, and my sister has a daughter that was a level 10 gymnast. So level 10s are the ones who are competing to go to the Olympics. She was very, very good, and our whole family would go and watch her compete. And so my granddaughter, my first granddaughter, being really young, and she would get bored. I know gymnastic meets are not the most fun thing for, a 2-year-old. And so I always made sure that when we went, I would say, hey, let's find the crying place, because every place has one. And so we'd look around, and I'd try to find a place that was kind of secluded, or sometimes it would be under the bleachers. She didn't always like that spot, but it kept her from crying that she was bored. But, and so I'd say, oh, here it is. And there'd be some kind of a signage there, maybe saying no smoking, but to me it said crying area. and I'd let her know. And so then she'd, get restless after a little while, and you could see her starting to cry. And I'd say, oh, you're sad. Should we go to the crying place so you can cry? No. Okay, well, we can go for a walk. We can do this. But if you need to cry, that's fine. Just let me know, and we'll just head over to the crying place. Okay, and she'd go for a little walk with me or whatever. But it was a really good way to, when you give kids permission to cry, it takes all of the control out of it. And they will end it very quickly, most of the time, almost all of the time. So we know that strong and independent children will have the strength and perseverance to overcome hard situations and still be kind and caring in the process. Does that make sense? So even though they're going through a hard time, when they're truly independent and strong, they are able to still, I'm upset, but I am not going to hurt anyone. I'm not going to say unkind things. I am capable, and I know how to handle this in a great way. That's a strong child, not the child who's ready to get in a fight every time things don't go their way. That's not a strong child. That is a very weak child, and that child needs a lot of help. So we will be firm, but we will be kind as we model how they are to act. And so look at, how am I behaving? And what example am I setting for my child? And so I always, it's funny to me when I'll have to talk to a parent because their child dropped an F-bomb in class or called somebody a horrible racial name. And so you have to talk to a parent. And they're like, oh, I don't know where they learned that. They never hear that at home. And I'm thinking, I heard you last week in the parking lot. Yes, I did. I don't say that, but I'm definitely thinking that. I had one parent who their son was getting in fights all the time. And they were like, I don't understand. Well, wait a minute. You have boyfriends that beat you up constantly. You got in a fight in the school parking lot last week because someone took a parking spot you wanted. And there were plenty of other spots, by the way, but you don't say that, but I'm telling you, a teacher's going to think that. So anyway, think of the example that you're setting. So as we get ready to go, it's about time. I'm just asking you to, when we're done, please share this video. Please share with your friend, and so we can have more people follow us and get to know us. And you can always contact me through Messenger or on Instagram, on email. I'm DJ Stutz, Stutz, @littleheartsacademyusa.com. easy, but I'd love to hear your comments, your questions, and if you have ideas for future topics, I would love to hear them. I'm so excited to let you know that on July 16th, we will be launching my first podcast. So I have a podcast that's going to be coming up in July. I hope you'll be there and listen to those and give me those 5-star reviews. But the name of the podcast is Imperfect Heroes, Insights into Parenting. So I hope you'll join me then. I just can't wait. I'm a nervous wreck over it all. Next Tuesday, I will be back here 7 o'clock, and we'll be talking about the fact that it is not your job to make sure that your children are happy all the time. Swallow that one for a minute. So we will talk about that. And until then, I wish you well and happy parenting. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.